Have you guys been enjoying the conference? Been good? Yeah? Yeah. It's so interesting for me because I got into Bitcoin in 2011, a little late, but it was around $3. I still remember going to Bitcoin conferences in 2011, sort of like meetups really is all they were, be like 10 people. It's been just phenomenal to see the changes and the growth, and now it's pretty much out of control now, which is good. It's also interesting for me as well because I was around for the beginning of the internet. So this is sort of like my second kick at the cat, so to speak, in many ways. I was around in 1993 when I still remember where I was when someone told me, have you heard of the internet? It's one of those sort of JFK moments when Lyndon B. Johnson killed JFK with the CIA. It's like you remember where you were on that day. And I remember someone coming up and saying, have you heard about the internet? And I was like, no, and he told me what it was. And I was working at a bank, and I pretty much quit my job that day. And a lot of people told me I was crazy. They said, you've got a job for life at the bank, how can you quit? And I said, I don't want a job for life at the bank, are you kidding me? But it was amazing because, this reminds me so much of what happened with the internet. I still remember 1994 going around to companies, trying to sell them on website development, which is what I was doing at the time. And I'd go to the CEO and he'd say, you guys need a website. And he'd go, what's a website? And then you'd say, it's on the internet. And he'd go, what's the internet? So I was around in those days. So it's very interesting to see this all kind of happening again. And what I did with the internet was I started Canada's largest financial website, which grew to the size of $240 million market cap at the peak, and then it totally imploded after that, and it was almost worthless. And someone handed me a book after that called The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin, and as I was reading through it, it talks about how the Federal Reserve was founded, and I said, why didn't anyone tell me that's how central banking worked? I would have saved a lot of money. But that actually led me to start up what I'm doing now, which is the Dollar Vigilante, which our main goal is to get rid of all governments and central banks in the world. And you know what? I think we're doing it. It's not just me. Like, we are all doing it. I've never been more optimistic about the potential for humanity to have freedom, which, as far as I can tell, has never happened before. It's hard to tell, though, because all the history books are all lies. You just have no idea what happened in the past. But we are on the cusp of greatness. For all those people here, people have no idea how important it is, what's actually going on in places like this with things like the blockchain. Some people might think it's just about making some money, which is fine and great, but no, this is actually the most important moment, as far as I can tell, in human history, and it could go either way still, in terms of if we don't get rid of governments and central banks, we will be heading towards a tyranny unlike I think anyone could even imagine, although there's still hope. But that's really what could happen if we don't get rid of them. And if we do get rid of them, we will have peace and prosperity on earth like we've never known it. And one of the keys is going to be the blockchain. In fact, it really all started with the Gutenberg press, which, a few hundred years ago, whenever it was, I don't even know. I wasn't there. But that was the beginning of being able to transmit information. But of course, it was just one way. But for the first time ever, you didn't have to know somebody to get the information. The information could be spread throughout the world thanks to the Gutenberg press. Later, the internet was the next massive innovation which gave hope for freedom in the world. Because now, with the internet, of course, you have two-way information. So that changed everything. I think most people would agree that the internet has been pretty important. And it's kind of interesting because back when I was getting into the internet, there was people who said I was crazy. Even the great economist Paul Krugman of the New York Times is quite well known for saying in the late 90s that at the end of the day, the internet will have been no more important than the fax machine. Paul Krugman. I don't know what's up with that guy. I think he's like a homeless guy they put in a suit. Like he looks all disheveled. He's got all these crazy theories. But, at the end of the day, the internet was the biggest hope for us in our lifetimes until now, thanks to the internet, we have the blockchain. And I really want to reinforce just how important this all is, because the government people, the people who control the world essentially, they all believe they want top-down control over all humanity. That's why if you look at the back of the $1 Federal Reserve note, I don't know if anyone's noticed, there's a pyramid with an all-seeing eye. They don't even try to hide it. The people are so fluoridated and vaccinated and dumbed down in the government indoctrination camps that they don't even notice these sort of things. But they want that top-down control. And so what this is really all about is, as many of you probably know, but I want to really reinforce it, is decentralization, giving the power back to the people. And kind of the funny thing about it all is that a lot of the people we're trying to give the power to, they don't really realize what we're trying to do, and in some ways they try to fight us. And that's sort of what the Matrix movie was about, that the people are so inured to the system that they will even kill you if you try to wake them up and make them realize what kind of slavery or what kind of matrix they actually live in. And for people who are unclear about just how enslaved humanity is, and I know it seems like, it's sort of an open air tax farm right now, so a lot of people get confused and they say, oh, we're pretty free, I can kind of do a few things. Well, if you're getting half your money extorted from you every year, like they say, if slavery is the government or the people taking 100% of your income, at what percent is it not slavery? The answer is 0, obviously. And so it's so important what's going on, and I think people don't really fully realize the importance of this movement. It's not even a movement. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's so critical at this moment in time that we have this, because they are starting to shut down the internet in many ways now, as many of you probably know. They're using every way they can possible, and this is, of course, companies like Google and Facebook that are blocking information, making it so people can't get access to real, truthful information, just get access to what they want the narrative to be. And so they use things like the adpocalypse. They're taking away the revenue of anyone trying to put out correct information. They're actually literally just censoring and shadow banning, and it's going to get worse and worse. So it's interesting because we had the internet, and it had the potential to really bring freedom forward a lot more, but they're getting better now at shutting it down. So that's why it's so important that we need to decentralize the internet itself. And of course, the first thing that came on the blockchain was Bitcoin. And there's actually not much more important when it comes to this struggle of freedom versus tyranny than money. Rothschild, who started central banking, which is a tenet of communism, and has only one real purpose, and that's to impoverish the grand majority of the people and to enrich the very, very few. It's not even the 1%, it's the 0.00001%. So they, through central banking, have actually impoverished us so much. The amount of wealth that we would all have would be so much greater if it weren't for central banking and, of course, government and taxation and regulation. And, of course, the market can regulate itself just fine. And it's a lot of you probably laugh, or if you're into this sort of thing, you probably laugh when they say that Bitcoin needs to be regulated. Well, Bitcoin regulates itself. It's called the blockchain. We don't need government bureau rats monitoring and regulating the market. And now, of course, we have things like Ethereum and all the other things that are coming out, EOS and all those sort of things for smart contracts. So we have Bitcoin, which very well could get rid of central banks without a shot fired, which is beautiful. A lot of the sort of more anarchist types used to talk about, well, we have to go in and kill all the government people, which, is an option. But we really don't have to do that now. This is the beauty of it all. This is such a beautiful thing that's going on. In the Bible, it says, I think, the meek will inherit the earth. And I always wondered what that meant. And I think I'm understanding it now. Because this whole evolution, it's not even a revolution, because we're not revolving back to anywhere. We're going somewhere brand new. We're going to a place without these massive governments and central banks. And no one has any idea just how prosperous and how peaceful the world could potentially be. It won't be perfect, of course. There's always problems in life. But without this giant slavery system, which infects every facet of our lives, no one has any idea. And they really don't know how to stop it. And we're seeing all the things they're trying to do. And they bring up some very serious things. They do a lot of this stuff in plain sight. Most people don't notice. But, John Kerry actually said a few years ago, this little thing called the internet is making it hard to govern. And it's true. So, they're worried about how they can control this, and it's very difficult. So they bring up things like the internet kill switch, and you've even seen this just recently with Donald Trump coming out after the latest, and I don't know, I wasn't here, I didn't see what happened. A lot of those things are actually done by the government itself. I don't know about this most recent one. But he came out and said that I think we got to turn off the internet. Most of the slaves in the U.S. didn't even notice. That's how brainwashed and dumbed down a lot of people are. But they're seriously, if it comes down to that, I think they're considering it. Another option is to turn off the power. They're seriously thinking about these things. So this is, whether you realize it or not, this is the spear tip, the people that are giving us a chance right now for true freedom in this world and all the peace and prosperity that will come with it. And on the other side are the people who want total control over everybody. And they have a track record of not being very nice and wanting to do whatever it takes to keep their control. And it's not even about money, it's about power. But they're going away very quickly. And it's going to come down to how quickly we can develop these decentralized applications or not. And there's numerous people now working on decentralizing the internet itself, which will be so important. And then as long as we can keep the power on, we will actually win this struggle. And it will be a large part of it thanks to blockchain technology. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think this is just some fad or this is some little thing. This is the most important thing in the world today, in my opinion, in terms of potential freedom for humanity. So I want to thank all the blockchain people, anyone working on the blockchain, anyone investing in it, anyone involved in any way. Thank you for your service. Keep it up. We are on the cusp of something unbelievable, and it's going to shock the world. And this is the beginning of it right here. I think my time's up, and I don't know what's going on, but all right, I'm leaving. Thank you. Thank you.